Hi, everybody. We are talking about guilt. Do you feel guilty? Do you feel guilty? And, guilt is a big, 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 big word, big feeling. A lot of us experiences and for different reasons. But we're going to talk about the guilt that a lot of people feel, and this has just come up in a lot of conversations I've been having with entrepreneurs and professionals. I hear it more from the women that I work with. Men can obviously feel this as well. The conversations I've been having have been more with women around this topic this past week. And guilt is this interesting feeling, right? Because I'm hearing, I feel guilty for not working. I'm starting my business. I should be working all the time. I feel guilty when I'm actually taking time off. And then I have other women that are like, I feel guilty for I'm working. So it's kind of like we feel guilt if we work and we feel guilt if we don't work. And so I just want to really kind of just focus in on this topic around guilt and really understanding it and what do we do with it? What do we do actually with it? So my name is Dr. Karen. This is going to be relevant. This video will be relevant for entrepreneurs, professionals, parents. And so we're going to focus on, this is, one of those topics that is under that leadership emotional intelligence umbrella, which is with what we focus on as a company. I've been doing this for many years, both a mental health professional as well as a leadership development coach, co-founder of DK Leadership, a global leadership coaching company. So let's dive in. And I want you to, we're going to focus on 4 key areas, okay? 4 key areas that I want you to really get out your pen and paper on. How do we actually manage guilt? How do we get rid of guilt? We want to get rid of the guilt. And so how do we actually do that? So there's kind of a few things I want us to highlight. Okay. Number 1 is I want you to get really clear, whether or not you're an entrepreneur, you're a parent, you're a professional, I want you to get really, really clear on your values. What are your values? This is a really big topic. When we have master classes and courses that we teach, and one of our modules that we actually teach is called How Do You Actually Make Value-Based Decisions? The reason why this is so important is because when we are making decisions, whether or not to work, to not work, whether or not to scale and grow our business, whether or not to maybe downsize, we have to get clear on our values. The people that are the happiest, that are most at peace, are individuals that have clarity on these are my values, this is what's important to me, and I'm making decisions aligned with those values. When there's an alignment of values, we'll have peace. When we don't have an alignment of values, we're going to feel, a lot of us might actually feel super guilty, and we might feel frustrated, edgy, agitated. We can feel all kinds of different things. Okay, so it's really, really important that you get clear on your values. Make decisions according to your values. Really, really important. And so that is number 1. Number 2 is you need to know yourself. You really need to know yourself. Know who you are, how you're wired, what energizes you. So one of the things that I found, so I've been an entrepreneur for many years, and a lot of times people would say, like, well, do you feel guilty? Do you feel guilty when you're working? And it's an interesting question. I don't really know if I really thought about it before I had kids, but I will tell you that when we have twins. And so what happened was I knew we were expecting twins. I thought I'm going to give myself 6 months off. I thought that'd be great for me just to kind of, take a big chunk of time. So we budgeted for it, we planned it. And within the first 2 months, I found myself off. I wasn't energized. I was agitated. And my husband, in his beautiful wisdom, he said, I actually think you wonder if you should actually go back earlier. I wonder if you should go back to work earlier, but just go part-time, just go for a little bit. And he realized that for me, being at home with twins and their newborns, and it's so all-consuming, and I adore my kids, love my children, I felt a little off with myself. I needed some time for myself to kind of recalibrate, re-energize. And so I decided to test it. I said, let me test it. And that's always a kind of a good way of, I find somebody's making decisions. If we're not really sure, just test drive it. You're not committing yes or no. You're just kind of like seeing if this is actually going to work. And so I ended up going back to work, just testing it for I think 1 day a week. And all of a sudden I just found myself all of a sudden I felt like me again. I felt a little bit more of that energy level. And people would say, "But don't you feel guilty?" And I'm like, but when I thought about it, no, I didn't. And because I realized that by me giving the gift to myself of actually giving myself some time away from my family and allowing myself to re-energize, to recalibrate, then what happened was I was a better version of myself when actually I went back home. I felt energized. I felt like I could actually give more of myself. It was a better version of me. But that's me, okay? That may not be you. That may not be your best friend or your sister or your mother. People are different. And I think it's really important that we know ourselves. We need to know ourselves. And because I know that about myself, I didn't feel guilty. I knew that that was actually going to be better for me. It's going to be better for my family. And so that's really important that we actually realize that. Number 3, this is really big, everybody. Don't compare yourself to other people. It kind of goes back to knowing yourself. Don't compare yourself, because what might work for you is not going to work for your friend. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I adore my mother. I've got a great relationship with my mom. For her, she loved being a full-time stay-at-home mom, and she did that until I was in high school. That was her. Awesome. That's great. That's just not me. And so we want to have grace with each other. We don't want to be judgmental. And so is realizing, one of the things I've really found doing this kind of work is people really are different, and we need to respect that difference. And that kind of goes to, again, that big umbrella called leadership emotional intelligence. People with really high EQ, they understand that. So if you have not received our free scorecard, I definitely want you to get your hands on it, and just in the comments below say EQ, and somebody from my team will actually send that to you, and you can get our free scorecard that looks at your overall leadership emotional intelligence. It'll actually help you understand yourself, and it's a great one pager. So definitely get your hands on that. So just write down EQ below. Okay, so we've talked about know your values. We've talked about know yourself. The EQ scorecard will be great for that. Number 3 is don't compare. Don't look over here. Don't look to the right, to the left. Focus on your own path. Let's be gracious and kind with ourselves and other people. And the last one is, and this kind of goes a little bit actually to the second point as well. The last one is really focus on understanding your energy levels. I love teaching about emotional energy. There are certain things in our life that will energize us emotionally, and there's certain things that actually deplete us. It's really important. We talk about guilt. Guilt is a very a lot of people don't really want to feel guilty, right? It's kind of like what some people might say it's a negative feeling. In psychology, we don't like to say things are positive or negative. What we do like to say is things are more pleasant or unpleasant. So for most people, guilt is an unpleasant feeling. They don't really want to feel it. And so what you want to do is you want to really think about your energy level. So what are the things that energize you? What are the things that deplete you? And then be very intentional to create your life, create your plan as much as you can to surround yourself with things that are going to actually energize you. So when I talk about, earlier around how I decided to go back to work earlier, I understood myself, okay? And part of that learning was understanding with what energized me. What energized me is using my brain. What energized me is serving and helping other people. What energized me was being creative. What energized me was to be I have a beautiful office, and to be in that space and to be working with people. All of that felt so energizing for me. And because of that, because I knew myself and I understood that emotional energy, then what I was able to do, and this is obviously a little bit different for entrepreneurs or business owners than if, let's say, you're an employee, but I still encourage you to use the same principle, is get really clear on what are things that energize me, knowing that ties into in terms of knowing yourself, but then be intentional to do it. Try to create the plan, try to create your structure, try to really intentionally do it so that you are giving yourself more opportunity to be energized. So once I realized I want to go back and I test drove that, realized like, wow, that actually feels really great. I'm now a better version because my goal, my value was to be a great mom. I want to be a great mom. I want to be the best version of myself. So realizing that for me, my best version was actually working part-time, and then real and paying attention to that emotional energy. And then once I figure that out, then to be intentional and actually kind of created that model for my schedule. And so that's that fourth part, is you want to understand what are the things that energize me, what are the things that I really need to make sure that I do, and then prioritize that. Because when you prioritize the things that energize you, you are going to be a better version of yourself. So for a lot of entrepreneurs, professionals, parents, when I say what energizes, they'll say things like going for walks, reading, massages, sports. It's a huge one for people. Taking some time off. And so, but a lot of them don't do it because they feel guilty, right? This is where that whole guilt thing comes up. You'll get rid of the guilt the second you realize, like, no, when I invest into these things that energize me, I am a better version of myself to my family, to my team, to my spouse. So we have to kind of have a healthy mindset around this, because otherwise all we do is we focus on guilt. I feel guilt, without taking a step outside. It's like you can't just turn guilt off. It's not like feelings, you can't just turn them on and off like a light switch. What we can do is you can change your thought pattern and you can change your actions. And when you change your thinking and your actions, indirectly, then it actually will change how you feel. And so those are the 4 steps, everybody. Those are the 4 steps. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Make sure you like our YouTube channel. Check out our other videos. I got lots of great videos. If there's a topic you would like me to be unpacking, definitely leave it below. Get your hands on our EQ scorecard. Just write EQ below. And I look forward to seeing you at one of our other upcoming videos.